Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, knife community. How y'all doing today? It's Wood Wednesday. I'm gonna try to keep this one short and sweet, and probably gonna dive into this certain topic a little heavier later on. But for Wood Wednesday, we're showing a cute one, just a little guy. Now you notice the hole for the keyring, wood handle, bird's eye rivet, but you also notice it's kind of got a taco shape going on with the liner. This is my shapleighs every boy knife, a boy's knife. Shapleighs guaranteed. Every boy needs a pocket knife. Shapleighs, it's a little oily, but I'm sure most of you already know. It reads Shapleighs St. Louis, as in St. Louis, Missouri, USA. Now these are very cheaply constructed. But still neat if you're a Shapleigh fan. Not a lot of snap close, but I think it's just the nature of the design of this taco shell knife. Now, I would assume that these were hanging up very prominently right by the cash register. Probably didn't cost but a few cents. Eye candy for when the young boys walked by and seen it, had to have it. I would have put a piece of candy up to have a pocket knife. I don't know about you. Now this particular stamp has a wide date range on it. Probably 40 to 60. This knife was probably sold in the 50s. But Shapleigh, in case you were unaware, was a hardware company. They were not a manufacturer. They were a retail chain, a hardware store. And of course, they're famous for their pocket knives and buying out Simmons and having the King Cutter and Diamond Edge trademark, so on and so forth. So Shapleigh never actually manufactured their knives. They were just a hardware store and had knives, contract knives built. I have a few Shapleigh knives, and it's a pretty broad topic, so we're not going to dive into that today. We're just showing something neat. And there's an example for Wood Wednesday, but like I said, we'll touch on Shapleigh's history and try to help date them. There's some of them are almost impossible because that 40 to 60 time frame, I mean, it's hard to narrow that down. But since they're contract knives, we can always match up patterns. We can always look at catalogs and so on and so forth. More clues, more rabbit holes. Y'all know me. And here's my response to Mr. Red-Eyed Patriots video about the Rogers bone. Now, a lot of us call Rogers bone just because of the way it looks, the kind of corncob jig pattern, right? And it can be almost any color, although typically brown or blonde to almost natural color bone, kind of yellowish white. But here's an example. I've already showed this one once, if y'all paid attention. Here's another equal in stock knife, stockman's knife, cigar, stockman, however you want to word it, whatever floats your boat. But I think this is my favorite from that era of Rogers bone. Don't worry, guys, I'm going to cut my nails tonight. I keep telling myself to. I've told myself for 2 nights in a row and I still ain't done it. Here's my Imperial Stockman. It's in pretty good condition. Got a chip out of the tip of the spear point blade, and that is a true spear point being switched. In front of the long pull, the very tip of the sheep's foot is broke, and a little chip out of the end of the pin blade. So what went on here? This knife is in really good condition to have a chip out of each blade. It looks, and it's also dull as a butter knife, by the way. I don't think it was ever sharpened. I think somebody bought it, was proud of it, pulled it out and tried prying on something with each blade before they figured out how hard Imperial's carbon steel was, and they chipped the pin, chipped the sheep's foot, and they chipped the main blade, and was like, well, this is a piece of crap, and they never used it again, when not known to them, these old Imperials were jam-up knives. Yeah, if you pry on it with the edge, it's obviously going to chip, but I'm kind of glad they didn't use it anymore, because it wouldn't be in this condition that it is in to be in my current collection. But why do we call it Rogers bone? Interesting fact. Rogers manufactured bone products. Knife handle scales, toothbrush handles, pacifier handles, all kinds of stuff. Up until, I think it said the 50s or 60s. And I'm going to post a link on where the term Rogers bone actually come from. Yes, it is a style of jigging, but the style of Rogers bone actually come from Rogers manufacturing. And I've already showed this queen, but we'll show it again just because we're on the topic of styles of bone. And that number 18 heavy duty jack with the winterbottom bone. The article I'm going to post a link to down in the description is by Bernard Levines. I try to be a student of his as much as I can. I really respect him, really respect all of the literature and the research that man has put into his work. And I aspire to be similar to Bernard in my love and passion for knives, and the love of the history of them, the love of the manufacturing processes of them, and just a general unadulterated obsession and love for all things to do with knives. Pocket knives, fixed blades, flippers, switchblades, yada yada yada. It don't matter. So I have a lot of respect for Levine. But anyways, this link I'm going to post is Levine talking and interviewing people about the history of Rogers bone and Rogers manufacturing, and the history of the winterbottom bone from a man actually named Winterbottom, who immigrated from Sheffield to the States and started up his own manufacturing company, and that's where winterbottom come from. So we don't just call these bone patterns Rogers or winterbottom because that's what they look like, or that's what everyone else calls them. There's actually history behind them, and I hope y'all read this article and get a kick out of it because it's very, very interesting. But anyways, guys, there you go, Mr. Red Eye Patriot. There's a little reply for your open tag, and there's a neat little boy's knife from Shapleighs for Wood Wednesday. Hope y'all got a kick out of this. Hope y'all found it informative. Hope y'all learned something today. This is Hillbilly Proud. Y'all have a good one.